Awesome. Hello, and thank you for joining us for today's session, SEO Keyword Research Explained, Finding Keywords That Rank. My name is Daniel Nzueto, and I'm excited to welcome you to today's session. If this is your first time attending one of our workshops, let me provide some context on Startup. Startup accelerates the growth of the LGBTQ plus community to drive our economic empowerment, building a world where every LGBTQ plus entrepreneur has equal access to lead, succeed, and shape the workforce of the future. I'm excited to introduce our host for today's session, Ryan Ward from Rex Marketing and CX team. The floor is yours, Ryan.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks everyone for coming today. Today we'll be talking about keyword research, explaining what is keyword research, how I conduct it, process of doing it for yourself, common pitfalls, mistakes, things like that. This is part of a larger series, so this will be kind of like just an intro, kind of surface level for those who are new to SEO, or this is like a whole new world for you. This is going to be very informational for individuals who are maybe a bit more advanced into SEO, keyword research, etc. This might be a bit surface level, but we'll be getting into the fundamentals of how to conduct research, things like that. Just a little bit more about myself. I'm based in Austin. I focus in growth marketing and SEO. I'm the co-founder of Rex Marketing CX. I come from a healthcare and education background. I was previous co-founder of an ed tech startup, exited that company in 2021, went on to be the head of growth marketing at a telehealth mental health company, grew that company across the US, and now I'm the co-founder of Rex Marketing. So SEO, growth marketing, that's really what I specialize in. In terms of what we do, at Rex Marketing CX, we work with early stage startups. We work with a number of industries, but the vast majority of people in the healthcare space come to us, just given our experience and our extensive work there. We focus in the areas of SEO, obviously, content strategy, web design, development, marketing ops, operations, things like that. And really can work with any early stage company's budget with as low as $300 for some services. So, but just to move into the content of why everyone's here today. So what we'll be talking about first off is, what is keyword research? Why is it important? Why should you be doing it when it comes to SEO? Types of keywords, how to find and evaluate different keywords and how to weigh them against each other. Which ones should we use? Which ones should we not use? Understanding search intent of your audience, your users, a keyword research workflow. So how I would go about conducting keyword research, and a pretty step-by-step guide on what you should do when conducting keyword research and deciding on which route to go. And then finally going to wrap up with some common mistakes and just things to consider as you take this information and take it into the real world and start doing this for yourself, for your company. So first off, what is keyword research? So the what and why behind it. Keyword research is all about finding and analyzing search terms that you want to rank for organically for your brand. All of it's about identifying opportunities for you to rank your website, your content, blog post, whatever it is that you have on your website, aiming to get that to start to rank in organic search for people to find you and get more eyeballs on your content, and ultimately try to drive more conversions at the end of the day, more sales, more purchases, more demo bookings. Ultimately, the goal of what you should be trying to accomplish when creating content and putting your website out there is you want to get in front of attract people who are actually looking for your brand and your services. If you're a healthcare brand, it's not going to matter if you shouldn't want to be ranking for keywords that are in a different industry or for a service or product that's not in your space. So the ultimate goal behind this is trying to identify keywords that are relevant to you, your brand, your products, and trying to rank for them. The point of keyword research, it helps guide your content strategy. So in terms of what should we be writing about, what type of content should we be putting out there, what landing pages should we create for our website? This is all, by conducting keyword research, this is all going to help point you in the right direction to establish and create that overarching content strategy for you and your brand, and ultimately try to find things that have high conversion potential. So, and when it comes to the types of keywords, there's short work, and also I have them listed here. We're going to break them each down one by one, so no worries of having to write all these down right now. But short tail keywords, there's long tail keywords, branded keywords, geo-targeted keywords, and then transactional keywords. When it comes to short tail keywords, so short tail keywords are broad and general search terms, usually 1 or 2 words. This would be like if someone was to search shoes, pizza, SEO, therapy, for example. So these are obviously higher search volume. People are going to be more likely to type in a single word or 2 words into a Google search box than a longer phrase or a longer sentence. Obviously, the con behind that is they're extremely competitive. And I want to call these out just because when we think about keyword research and keyword strategy, generally speaking, unless you're a extremely large brand with extremely high domain authority and really command the space, you're not going to want to target short tail keywords because they're going to be kind of a waste of time, especially if you're a smaller brand. But just to call them out here, they bring in high search volume, but they're highly competitive and obviously less specific to your user's search intent. On the flip side, looking at long tail keywords, these are more specific phrases. These could be 3 to 4 words. These could be sentences. And obviously we're targeting a more niche search query. So this could be like versus someone typing in just shoes, it could be best running shoes for women, for example. That would be a long tail keyword phrase if you were a shoe brand looking to sell your product. The pros behind this is obviously with it being a longer search phrase, there's less competition for these long tail keywords, generally speaking. There's higher user intent behind them. You're going to obviously say that you're a woman's shoe brand following this example. If someone's just searching for shoes, that could be someone male identifying looking for shoes. It could be someone looking for children's shoes. And if you're selling a very specific type of brand or very specific product, that's not relevant. Those aren't getting relevant eyeballs, relevant clicks to your website. By using long tail keywords, you're getting even more narrowed down to your target audience and your target purchaser or user end audience, basically. And obviously in turn leads to higher conversion rates. If you're a women's shoe brand and you're ranking for best running shoes for women, that's going to have a higher conversion for your audience versus ranking for something like shoes, for example. The cons behind it is the trade-off is that there is less search volume. This is getting a more niche and narrow audience as you add on additional phrases or words to a search query. Then we'll look at branded keywords. So branded keywords, these are specific to your brand, your company. These are important, I'd say, to consider, especially if you are a brand that's been around for a bit, you have a following, you have an audience already. You want to make sure that you are ranking for your branded keywords and that you are showing for your branded searches, especially if people are aware of you in the space. When it comes to an early stage company, we'd love for people to be searching for our brand from day one, but they obviously aren't going to be unless they're aware of you or they've heard about you. So yeah, I'd say these are obviously going to be highly targeted searches to your specific brand, but they're not going to show up unless someone's already familiar with your brand. So again, it is important to rank for these, especially or try to rank for your keyword, your brand name, especially on things like your homepage. That's like a given. But it's something that you would work towards as you continue to build brand awareness through other channels, through other mediums. Geo-targeted keywords. So this is geared more towards like local businesses, those who have local services, or offer any sort of geo-specific type services as well. Like if you are a company that offers, for example, telehealth services across Virginia, looking to target Virginia-based keywords would be like a geo-targeted keyword, for example. But the drive behind geo-targeted keywords is, again, getting in front of your niche audience that is in your local vicinity, whether it be in your town, within the a certain radius of your brick and mortar store, or maybe in the states that you are offering your services remotely. This is great for, like I mentioned, local businesses. If you're a healthcare brand, for example, that only offers services in certain states or locations due to licensure, it's important to try to rank for these, especially as people tend to look for things that are nearby or close to them. Um, and then finally, transactional keywords. So these are keywords for people that are ready to take action, whether it be purchasing something, booking a call, booking a trip, signing up for something. This is, for example, like buying a laptop, signing up for a class, etc. These keyword phrases would be transactional keywords. I would also say these actually double. This is also like long tail keywords. Like these are like transactional long tail keywords. But these are people who are actively looking to engage, purchase something, sign up for something. Obviously, these are going to have much higher conversion potential because there's someone who's actively searching to engage with a service or a product. But again, they're going to be highly competitive. Like this isn't what we're talking about today. We don't operate in a vacuum. Other companies are doing this, other brands are doing this. So just because you want to start to rank for signing up for a fitness class, there's 50 other brands who are also trying to do the same thing. So you still also have to consider when it comes to trying to rank for transactional keywords, things like your domain authority, and trying to outrank these other competitors in this space because they are competitive. So moving into how we go about finding and evaluating these different keywords, because obviously there's different types of keywords, there's lots of directions you can go. When it comes to finding keywords, if you're at this call today and you're seriously considering investing in time and energy and resources into SEO as a medium for your company or as terms of your marketing strategy, you should invest in an SEO tool. Some of the ones that I recommend and have used extensively are SEMrush and Ahrefs. Those are the most popular in the space. They're kind of like, I'd say the gold standard, if you will, for like feature set, what they offer in their product, etc. There's other ones out there that are more cost effective that I will say that SEMrush and Ahrefs are typically considered the more expensive ones in the space, but they are obviously the ones I'd recommend. But there are other tools out there that you can use that are more cost effective if budget's an issue. But at the end of the day, if you're wanting to take SEO as a SEO strategy seriously for your company or for your brand, I'd recommend investing in this because it's going to just help with the keyword research process, help with your tracking metrics, performance, etc. You're going to want to use these within these products. They have keyword research tools as part of their products. You're going to help you find topics that are relevant to your niche, your product. You're going to want to search for things that are related to industry terms, industry problems. Like what is it? What is the value prop behind your company? What is the problem you're solving? What are people searching for when they're looking for the solution to that problem? Really, I like to say what I actually enjoy about SEO and keyword research is that it really, if you're an empath, like this is like your time to shine because this is like what you're doing is you are putting yourself in the shoes of your audience and your user. You're like, okay, what is my end user searching for? What are they doing? If you can put yourself in that space and in that headspace, your keyword research is going to come, and keyword research brainstorming is going to come easy for you. Also look at what your competitors are doing. So conduct keyword research around what are our competitors creating content around, what pages do they have on their website that they're trying to rank for? Can we compete in those spaces? Can we compete in those keywords? And then also look at Google search suggestions. I'm sure that, whenever you go to Google, you're typing in something, you'll often see the suggested completions for the search query in Google. Those can also be helpful as you're looking at potential opportunities to conduct research and, look at search volume, things like that. Those can help with the brainstorming process of finding these keywords. So let's say, for example, you've gone through some brainstorming. You've put yourself in the shoes of your audience. You've looked at some competitor keywords, what your competitors are trying to rank for, looked at some Google suggestions, etc. Now we go about, okay, how do we determine from these keywords that we've brainstormed, how do we determine if they're like worth our time? The key metrics you want to look at when you're evaluating keywords are search volume. And if you're using if you're using SEMrush, Ahrefs, they're going to very nicely and cleanly provide this data to you. If you're not using one of these tools, it's going to be a bit more difficult, or keyword difficulty might be actually impossible if you're not using it some sort of keyword research tool. But they're going to help determine like what search volume look like for these search terms. What is keyword difficulty? Keyword difficulty is a score of 0 to 100 that determines on how hard it is to rank for that keyword. So, for example, 0 being least difficult, 100 being the most difficult. I'll talk about like what the sweet spot is later in here, but keyword difficulty relates to competition and how difficult it will be to rank for that. Looking at the relevance, so how well does the keyword tie into the user intent for your end audience and the content you're wanting to create. So for example, like maybe you're trying to create a landing page that talks about a certain feature of your product, but there's a keyword that's not really relevant. Don't try to stuff that into the page. You want it to align with what you're trying to accomplish with the content of the page on your website, or the piece of content on your blog, or whatever it may be. And then look at trends. So Google Trends can also provide some insights. If you're looking to see if there's any sort of spikes in popularity, Google Trends can be a good place to go to see if people are searching for this search term more often the past 6 months. Maybe it's a search term that's declining. People are no longer using that buzzword, or it's not as popular anymore. But long story short, these are the metrics that I consider and that I look at when I'm evaluating these different keywords after the brainstorming process. So whenever you're conducting keyword research for smaller brands, I typically say shoot for keyword difficulty of 40 or lower, especially if you're just getting started and just starting to launch like an SEO strategy. When it comes to, and this is kind of like my rule of thumb, there's obviously exceptions, but if I'm working with a smaller brand, that's typically what I like for us to aim for. That gives us enough wiggle room, generally speaking, where there's enough volume to make it make sense for us to invest time and energy into it. Versus, and then also too, there is a higher likelihood that we're actually going to be able to start to rank for this keyword. If you're not going to want to invest time and energy or resources into trying to rank for a keyword that's 85, if you're a newer brand, because it's going to be an uphill battle, and you could have spent time creating 4 other pieces of content that could have a more likelihood of getting to rank. Additionally, the keyword volumes that they provide to you in these keyword research tools, it's based off of average monthly search volume that they've collected from their different APIs and information they pull together. So that being said, I usually say like anything lower than 50 is just not worth your time. If you're trying to produce content, I'd say keep it above that, just so that you're getting enough impressions, and ultimately enough clicks on this content to make it worth the investment of your time and resources. And ultimately think about the searcher's intent when choosing blog topics that you want to target. So at the end of the day, again, going back to what I said earlier, you want to put yourselves in the end user. What are people searching for? What is my end user searching for? What are the problems that they are facing that they'd be searching to find my product for? These are all things that as just some tips to consider as you're conducting this keyword research on your own. And I've included here, this is like a screenshot of what an example would look like. So this is from SEMrush, but again, each one's pretty similar. They're going to have like the volume numbers here, which is based off average monthly volume. They're going to have keyword difficulty, and they're going to put it nicely here so you can just see it all. Will make your life a lot easier as you're conducting this research. So I've mentioned search intent a bit. So moving into like what that means, there's different types of intent when someone's conducting a search on Google. There's informational intent, navigational, transactional, and then commercial investigation. So when it comes to informational intent, this is where people are looking to get answers to questions, looking to gain knowledge or insight on a certain topic or a certain topic, and they're going to the internet to find that answer. So this would be like someone saying, "What is SEO? How does keyword research work? How do I file my taxes?" Like for example, like they're going to be looking for answers to these types of questions. The types of content that you want to create if you were looking to rank for informational keywords, because I will say too, these aren't listed in any particular order because there is value behind any of these types of intent. It all comes down to what is the end goal for that you're trying to accomplish with the content you're producing, whether it be a new page or a new product landing page, whether it be a piece of content for the blog, whether it be whatever it may be on the website. Each one of these has value. It's just you want to make sure that you're producing the right type of content for the keyword that you're looking to rank for. So going into that, the type of content you'd look to create for like informational intent, if you're wanting to rank for answers to questions, people searching for solutions to a problem, those types of things would be like blog posts, maybe step-by-step guides, how-to articles, videos, FAQs. This gets down to answering and providing information to these types of questions and providing informational content. You're going to want to make sure you're focused on creating detailed content for this. Obviously, people are not going to be happy if they're looking for in-depth informational content and you produce a piece of content that's ranking and you're just pushing your product the whole time and it's not actually providing information, any sort of like actionable information that they can take and answer that question with. So you want to make sure you're focused on actually providing a solution, providing informative content, structuring it, and making sure you're trying to educate that person. And obviously the end goal is to push the product a bit, but that shouldn't be the main intent of this type of content. It should be something that we're getting clicks, we're building ourselves up as a industry expert. People are coming to us to get answers to their questions. They're learning about our product at the same action of doing so. Navigational content. This is what would be considered someone searching for a specific brand, product, or website. So if someone was looking specifically for your brand, your blog, your tool, your product. I mentioned this earlier, but when it comes to navigational intent, this would be like optimizing your homepage for brand keywords. So making sure that you're ranking for your brand name, making sure that if you have a blog or you have some like content hub of sorts that people come to engage with your brand, making sure you're ranking for that. It's going to be important that obviously, again, if you're a smaller brand, you're not going to rank don't think people are going to be actually searching for your brand right away. This is more a thing that will happen organically as people start to become more aware of your brand. You get more users, you get more customers. They'll start to conduct these types of searches, and you'll want to make sure you're ranking for these searches that have navigational intent. Then comes transactional intent. So again, going back to how we mentioned with transactional keywords, these are people who are looking to take action. So they're looking to purchase, sign up, book a call, book a class, whatever the case may be. When it comes to these types of queries, it could be like buying women's running shoes, signing up for a fitness class, whatever the case may be. The type of content on your website that you'd be trying to rank these pages for. Or like if you're an e-commerce site or you're selling some sort of product, you'd want your product pages to rank for these types of purchase intents. If you have a pricing page of your product, uh, this is the type of content you'd want to optimize for these types of keywords. Any sort of landing page that you're trying to drive someone to make a purchase. Maybe you have an e-course, maybe you have some sort of an ebook, something like that. These are the types of pages that this relates to. And obviously with these types of keywords, especially if you're in the e-commerce space, you know there's a complete science behind writing a good product page and writing a good product description. And so with that being said, you're going to make sure that you're focusing on the content on these pages, focusing on purchase focused keywords. So creating content that's wanting to drive that ultimate action of purchasing the software, purchasing the shoes, purchasing the shirt, whatever the case may be. And then finally, commercial investigation intent. So this would be people who are looking to make a decision or compare products or options before making a decision. So for example, this could be someone looking for a list of best SEO tools for startups or SEMrush versus Ahrefs. Maybe if you're a healthcare brand, or maybe you say you're a healthcare brand, like a telehealth brand, you'd be like best telehealth therapy companies in 2025. That being said, you're going to want to, the type of content that you'd want to create to try to rank for these types of search queries would be would be like comparison pieces. Like if you had a best of list, the top 10 list, case studies, buyer guides, decisions, for buyer guides to help someone make a decision. And you'll see that brands do this. If you go to search for HubSpot versus, Pipedrive, I bet you, I haven't done that search today, but I would bet you that HubSpot probably has a piece on this where they've done a side-by-side comparison of, we have these features, they have these features, this is what you get, this is what you don't get. So especially if you have a product, or maybe you're in a space where you have a strong competitor, maybe you're a new player in the space, you're a new software solution, maybe there's an incumbent who has a strong following, could be interesting and a good use of strategy to look at creating side-by-side comparison pieces of you versus the competitor. That's also something that I also like to recommend to brands is if you have a competitor that's really strong in this space, try to hijack their content, try to hijack their domain authority, because if they have a strong following and have a strong presence in organic, maybe you can capitalize on people who are unhappy with their product or unhappy with their feature set or etc., and look at creating these comparison guides. So when someone's looking for alternatives to HubSpot or alternative CRMs or whatever the case may be, you'd be able to build a more awareness for your brand and also speak to how your features are different, better than this competitor. So that is basically what I think about in terms of the type of content I'd create for commercial investigation. So when it comes to workflows, so generally speaking, this is how I would go about, and we've talked about it a bit throughout this, but just like kind of bringing it all together of like a step-by-step of how you would go about defining these keywords and conducting this research. Ultimately, you want to decide, what are you trying to achieve with this content? So again, are you looking to drive more traffic to your website? Are you looking for more demo calls? Are you looking for more bookings? Are you looking to drive more sales of your product? Whatever the case may be, these are the types, this is the question you should start with when it comes to brainstorming. So sit down, think about what are the types of things, what am I trying to achieve? What's the end goal? Is my head of marketing breathing down my back because we don't have enough MQLs this month? What should I prioritize for our content strategy for the coming 3 months? That's the type of thing you'd want to ask yourself. When it comes to your audience, so thinking about who is the target audience, trying to get as narrow as possible too. So obviously, as we mentioned earlier, short tail keywords are more competitive, long tail keywords are less competitive. So as we're looking at producing content pages on the website, etc., for our target audience, try to get as narrow as possible with this. Think about, should I, maybe we're a shoe brand, maybe we sell shoes, going back to the example I had earlier. Maybe with this piece of that our target audience with this piece of content is thus looking to reach women or moms on the go looking for the best shoes to chase their kids around in, for example. Maybe you should look at creating content around, maybe that's what your goal is of the content, and you're narrowing it down to a very specific niche audience, which again, people are more inclined to engage with your product, brand, or services when you're speaking to them as a person. If I'm a mom looking for that specific shoe because the shoes I currently have do not work for me because as I'm running around, and I come across a piece or a comparison guide or what have you that speaks about the best shoes, that's for my specific problem, my specific niche, I'm more inclined to engage with that product or that service versus just going to a general page of all women's shoes, if that makes sense. Also think about, as you're brainstorming, common questions or problems that customers ask. So if you already have users, you already have customers, etc., think about what are the things that people often bring up in sales conversations. What are the common questions they ask you? Even current users, maybe like, what are the things that they don't understand about your product? What are the questions they ask you about your feature set? In the sales process too, like, what are the problems people bring up? What are things that they're saying? Oh, like, I found that in my industry that, marketing leaders don't have enough support for marketing ops or whatever. I'm just making that up. But it's like, think about what are those common problems that people are asking that you can then brainstorm, think about keywords that could hone in on that specific problem. Also think about industry specific problems or keywords. Obviously, if you're in a space like healthcare, education, legal, there's a lot of jargon that can be thrown around. Think about potentially trying to look, what are the industry specific problems or terms that we could try to rank for, create content around. And then I'd say cast a wide net as you're thinking about this, because obviously this list is going to get smaller and smaller, because every keyword like that you brainstorm is not going to be worth your time. There might not be enough search volume, there might be enough keyword difficulty. So or there might be a high keyword difficulty. So cast a wide net. You can always narrow it down later. But this is like step one of conducting research, is going through, asking yourself these questions, and building this initial list. You'll then transition into using one of the said research tools to start to conduct research for your brainstorming list. So we talked about this earlier, but you're going to want to go through and review search volume. Calling that out again, I'd say 50 or higher is like minimum for anything that you're investing time and resources into. Keyword difficulty, making sure that the keyword difficulty is not too high for you to try to rank for, or you to compete against in the space. And then understanding the search intent for each of these keywords. Again, going back to how we had talked about the different types of content that you would produce for these different types of intent, make sure the intent aligns with your goals. So is the goal for us to drive more sales? Is it drive more bookings? Is it to explain how we're better than HubSpot? Is it to explain how our product has a new feature that nobody knows about, or that's new to the space? Try to understand really what is the goal of this content or this new page or whatever it may be, and make sure the intent for the keyword that you're choosing and the keywords you're choosing align with that end goal, obviously this, it's not rocket science. The trick behind this is trying to find opportunities where there is high search volume with lower competition. So if you're conducting this research and you see, hey, like this actually has a lot of search volume and keyword difficulty is 40, and actually I see this as a good opportunity, that's when you're going through this brainstorming list, put it in an Excel doc, put the keywords, copy and paste the keyword difficulties, the volumes, compare them, see what opportunities you have. It's a bit tedious, but that's really the process of going through and trying to find these opportunities. And again, as I said, we don't operate in a vacuum. So just as you're doing that for your business, another person is doing the same thing at your business, at another business. And so that's the trick with SEO, is that just as you're conducting this research and conducting this type of work, someone else is doing the same thing. So really, it's trying to find those opportunities where people have overlooked or missed or maybe another brand has not created that type of content yet, and trying to take advantage of that. Now you'll want to look at actually applying these keywords. So let's say we've got this list, we found these opportunities. We know what type of content we want to create now. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to incorporate those keywords into your content, which is pretty self-explanatory. But, for example, this is like a good rule of thumb, just as you're thinking about a page in general. I usually say is make sure that there's enough content on the page for it to rank. So my rule, I don't have this here, but my rule of thumb is having a page that's, generally speaking, 800 words or higher. If it's just a landing page, that's enough content, truthfully, for us to actually start to drive for it to be proper, for it to be indexed and rank highly in search. And then when it comes to blog content, comparison guides, etc., I'd say a goal of 1,200 or higher is a good place to be for word count at a minimum. Obviously, if you're creating like a more informative piece, you want to expand on that. But generally speaking, just for a ranking potential, I'd say 800 words is a good place to aim for any page. And you may be asking yourself, like, it's my homepage. Like, how do I put enough words for that? Think about ways that you can expand on explaining your product, explaining your features, adding testimonials. You'll be surprised. Like if you start to actually expand on the type of information you provide on a page, further breaking down, explaining a feature, further explaining down a product or your offering or your brand story or whatever the case may be, you're going to quickly see that you'll get closer to that 800 word count. And that there's no, I'd say it's not a strict 800, but that's kind of what I'd say, get around there for a page. And so anyway, how you would tie this into keywords is looking to incorporate these keywords into that content on those pages, whether it be the pricing page, the feature page, the blog page, the how-to guide. You'll want to also include that incorporate these keywords into your meta tags. So this would be like your title tags, your meta descriptions, finding opportunities to incorporate them there as well. Obviously, you don't want to just stuff a bunch of keywords into these places, but you'll want to try to find opportunities to incorporate them into those title tags and meta descriptions. Your headings. So these would be like the H1, like H1 would be the main heading of the page. H2s on your website, which would be like of the page would be like subheadings. So like if you have like H2s, H3s, H4s, if you have no clue what I'm talking about, that's like heading structure for architecture of a page. We're trying to find opportunities to incorporate the keywords into those. And then potentially, it's not a make or break it, but if you have opportunity to incorporate it into the URL at all possible, that can also be helpful. But again, it's not necessary, but it can help as well. So that's where you would actually incorporate these keywords once you've aligned on the list and finalize that. Now it comes down to tracking rankings, traffic, and conversions for these targeted keywords after you introduce the changes. So when it comes to tracking rankings, the biggest thing I'm going to say, if you don't already use, they're free to use. So if you're just getting started, incorporate Google Search Console as part of your reporting for SEO. Incorporate Google Analytics, both free to use tools, easy to set up. Those are like the bare minimum for performance tracking. If you invest in SEMrush or Ahrefs, they're going to also have reporting built into them where you connect your domain, you set up your domain, and they'll help you understand what you're ranking for or not ranking for. So Google Search Console, Google Analytics, bare minimum, set up SEMrush or Ahrefs if you invest in them. Those are going to be very helpful for you as you track performance. Is the work I'm actually doing making a difference? Is my traffic increasing? Am I driving conversions from these pages? That can all be enlightened from these different tools. One thing I also like to say too is give yourself at least 45 days to start to see some movement before pivoting or writing this off as it's not working. SEO really is a long game. So it is all about creating the content, creating the pages, and aiming for them to rank as you continue to build and create more content. So I generally say, give yourself 45 days. You should start to see some sort of improvement in rankings. You should start to see some rankings starting to rank if you're not ranking already. You'll start to see some impression improvements, some click improvements. Yeah, I will say you might not see a ton of conversions at the end of the end 45 days. Like that might be, you know, you could see some, but it's not going to be like this isn't the type of work where you're going to like, oh, I'm going to get 100 bookings overnight. It's going to definitely be a long game with this. So, but the indicators that you'll be looking for to make sure that it's actually making a difference and you're seeing improvements will be really search impressions, search clicks, click-through rate in Google search, or any search engine, keyword ranking, making sure that you're starting to improve rankings for keywords. If you're already existing, if you're ranking for things that are existing, maybe you're starting to rank for new keywords. Those will be the key indicators that it's worth your time and things are working and that you're going in the right direction. If you invest a bunch of time and resource into this and you don't see that, that's when you'd want to, okay, let's go back to the drawing board. We need to find new keyword opportunities. We need to rework our content. Might could be some larger issues with the site itself. But again, that's when you would know you want to go back to reevaluate and go back to the drawing board if you're not seeing those indicators move after 45-ish days. So moving into common mistakes, things that I often see when it comes to conducting keyword research and going through this. I've brought this up a lot, but ignoring search intent. Search intent is extremely important when it comes to creating content and ultimately, reaching your end goals of whatever you're trying to accomplish. If your goal is to drive more sales, you're not going to want to create a bunch of information. You're not going to want to just create like 50 informational pieces of content on your blog, because that's not going to be ultimately like going to be a fast driver of sales. That's more about building brand awareness, maybe building your email subscriber list, maybe building your following. That's kind of what you'd be aiming for with that. So again, search intent is highly important, and definitely consider that as you brainstorm. Overlooking long tail opportunities. So this would be like, not like I mentioned previously, the example of shoes for moms on the go. Don't think about how narrow you can get when you're producing content or creating pages or creating collection pages for your products, so on and so forth. If you think like, oh, let's do best shoes for moms, let's take it even a step further and look at other long tail opportunities. Best shoes for moms on the go, best shoes for stay-at-home moms, best shoes for moms with young boys. Like these are all different kind of long tail opportunities. And once you find one of these opportunities, think about how you can expand it further and get even more narrow. Again, the trade-off is these will be low search volume. So, you know, how people are probably going to be I mean, I know people will be searching for shoes for moms more often than they're searching for shoes for moms with young boys. That's going to be a much lower intent. But if you produce a relevant page, a relevant piece of content that explains, hey, this is why my piece or why my product is good for someone with young boys, you have a higher conversion opportunity for those those longer tail keywords. Um, Obviously, I mentioned this earlier, but don't make the common mistake of only trying to go after high volume keywords. Uh, First of all, they're going to be highly competitive. Again, like as a word of caution, do not think that you're going to come into the space and like start ranking for a page that's 70 keyword difficulty and you're going to just blow your competitor out of the water. That's just not how it works. So look for opportunities that have lower keyword volume, but uh, that may have lower keyword volume, but also have difficulty that's reasonable for us to go after. You know, you got to be realistic with yourself and with where you're at currently as a brand and as a brand authority before you try to rank for these higher volume or highly competitive keywords. One other thing is neglecting competitor analysis. Similar to how I said earlier, like one of the strategies I really like to implement is hijacking competitor traffic. So as I mentioned as an example of like uh, best alternatives to HubSpot CRM, maybe that's or HubSpot CRM versus X, or finding the like first off, trying to get in front of eyeballs of people who are looking for HubSpot, which is and I keep using HubSpot as an example because we probably all know it, but um, finding opportunities for us to hijack the traffic of people searching for that highly authoritative brand, but also when it comes to competitor analysis, looking at what your competitors are doing in the space. What kind of content are they producing? What are, you know, you can probably, if you went to someone's, a company's blog and looked at what they produced for the past 6 months, would be pretty telling of probably what their content team is planning long term of what the directions they're going. So look at opportunities you know, where your competitors are creating content. It could be a great place for you to conduct research and determine, hey, is this an opportunity for us as well? Should we try to produce some content around this topic or maybe tweak it slightly to maybe they missed this opportunity, so on and so forth. Additionally, you don't want to just stuff a bunch of keywords into your content unnaturally. This is also something that I often see as an issue. Like someone will say, oh, I found these 20 keywords. I'm going to try to create one piece of content that targets all this. I like to say, truthfully, you know, I like to say go into a piece of content or a page aiming to try to rank for 2 to 3 keywords. Like that's like a good that's a good strategy that are obviously tangential and relevant to one another. You're going to cluster the keywords together that are related to one another and try to rank all those for a page. But ultimately, you're not going to rank for best shoes for mom, best shoes for dad, best shoes for my son, all on a single page. That's just not how it works, and that's keyword stuffing, and it's not going to pan out in the way that you're hoping it would. And then finally, just overall, not giving SEO as a strategy as a medium enough time. It is a long game, especially if you're starting from ground zero and you're just now starting this, and maybe you don't even have a content hub for your website or your brand yet. It's going to be a slow burn to really see it pay off and really see it come to a head and um, pay and the or see an ROI on the time you invest into it. But I'd say look at those key indicators I called out, make sure that you're starting to gain new improved keyword positioning, new rankings for new keywords, uh, increasing impressions, which is kind of a vanity metric, but you want to be seeing that as well. And then also seeing an improvement in your clicks, your click-through rate, and ultimately making sure you're properly tracking conversions for these pages so that you can track conversions over time for these pieces of content or these pages on your website. So anyway, these are the things that I would avoid as you're getting into this and really starting to prioritize keyword research and things to look out for. But that's all I had for today. So if you have any questions, feel free to, I haven't looked at the chat, so I can take a look and see if there's any questions I can answer. But yeah, I appreciate everyone's time.
Awesome, Ryan. Thank you so much. We got tons of questions for you. You were very popular in the chat. But first, thank you so much, Ryan, for sharing this information. Highly, highly recommend book a call with Ryan. Rex is a fantastic partner, and we love working with them. Ryan, I'll take you through the questions and let me know what you can answer there. Like a comment, I imagine transactional combined with branded keywords are low-hanging but really valuable fruit.
Sorry, I'm finding it. Yeah, so the transactional and branded keywords, yes, those would be low-hanging fruit. Oftentimes people would search for your brand straight away. So like branded keywords, I'd say really come into play with like your homepage. Like when someone's searching for your brand by name, you're going to want them to come to your homepage specifically. But yes, that if someone is searching for by HubSpot, ideally you'd want that homepage to be the first thing to show up, if that makes sense. So if someone's looking for your brand by name, you'd want that HubSpot, you'd want that homepage to show up.
Thank you. Some questions around early stage, folks. So, does it make sense to invest in SEO at the early stage? How much time budget should you allocate it or financial budget?
Yeah, good question. So it does, I would say it does make sense to invest in it early because I think the earlier you get a handle on it, the better. That being said, it's not one of the, I am a, like, if I'm gonna just big as an, like putting on like my founder hat, like the biggest the biggest thing that you want to focus on in the early days is talking to people. So that's like, uh, I'd say when it comes to things to prioritize, direct outreach, that's going to be like the biggest thing. When no one knows about your brand and no one is aware of your brand, you need to go out and tell people about your brand. So SEO. So that being said, that's like if I just being a founder, like that's what you need to be doing in the early stages. Uh, that being said, it is value additive for you to have informational content and to start prioritizing SEO and content strategy because, when you're no longer able as the founder to, or, a small team to get out and talk to 20 people a day about your product, and you need people to find you other ways, and you need to scale and have other mediums for people to find you, that's where SEO starts to really pay off and pay back in dividends, if that makes sense.
Yeah, perfect. And then some questions generally around word usage. So do you have any advice?
Sorry, I was gonna say one quick thing, just because I just saw it. Someone asked, is the volume out of 100? Volume is not out of 100. So I think that just to correct what was said. So I see that. So keyword difficulty is from a scale of 0 to 100. Volume, like average search volume is as low as NA in any of these tools, which would be like unknown, all the way up to hundreds of thousands, million. Like it's like based off of search volume. So just to clarify that, because I saw it in the chat.
I appreciate it. So questions around like being too niche, too focused, too specific in your terminology. Somebody also asked about, any advice on reaching LGBTQ plus customers and best practices for using keywords that effectively reach our community. Most higher volume keywords are gay, but not very inclusive. So any insights on being too niche or too focused?
Yeah, good question. So going back to what I was saying earlier, I think that, you want to, although longer tail keywords are more niche, are going to have lower volume. If that is what your target audience is, and you are a niche product and a niche service, that's what you should be attempting to rank for. So I'd say there's the trade-off of like, if you are targeting a more niche audience, a niche user base, that is the keywords you should be going after and should be trying to rank for, versus like a more general audience that isn't relevant to your product or service, if that's the question. So yeah, I'd say that if you are going after a niche, that's what you should be going after when you're doing this keyword research. Don't try to just cast a wide net, because that's where the volume is, if it's not relevant to your end audience.
Awesome. Thank you. Related to the comparison guides that you talked about. So in comparison guides, are there also more options than just comparing to the competitor? Should we also find topics that are neutral but relevant to our space?
Okay, that's a good question. So I would say that, I guess to better understand the question, comparison to things that are in our space. Yeah, you could do comparison guides to like, and I guess maybe I'm misinterpreting the question, but like if someone was like doing like a comparison of, I'm just thinking of taxes right now, but like doing doing taxes uh on my own versus using a tool could be an example, I guess. And if that's kind of what someone's asking, and then that's totally another direction you can go without using a competitor specifically. However, I think the value is to, if you have a competitor in the space that you wanted, that has a high brand awareness and has a high volume, I'd recommend going that route, just because it is going to give you more opportunity to rank in terms from a strategy perspective.
Fantastic. Thank you. Related to when you were talking about the intents, are the different intents used exclusively, or can a combo of them work?
Yeah, a combo could definitely work. I think that it kind of goes down to, again, I listed out there in with the intent, the types of content that you want to produce for each. So that being said, ultimately they can overlap. It's just that you want to make sure that the type of content you're producing is relevant and makes sense for those varying keyword intents.
Perfect. New one just came in. Can we use any of the AIs to pull keywords from competitor websites?
Yeah, you can totally do that. So like I would say that when it comes to, so also too, actually, when you invest in like a SEMrush or Ahrefs, they will actually be very helpful and help you during competitor analysis, and help you actually analyze what keywords that your competitors are ranking for or showing up for. You can actually do competitor comparison to see like, hey, where am I ranking for this keyword? Where is competitor ranking for this keyword? So yeah, so you definitely can use that. And also, if you invest in one of those tools, like it's going to be again, if you're starting to prioritize SEO, I highly recommend just biting the bullet and going for one of these, because it's going to make your life easier for competitor research and finding these keywords.
Awesome, Ryan. And I think that's a perfect transition to our closing. I invite you all to join us tomorrow for our next session with Ryan and Rex Marketing. That will be AI and SEO, leveraging AI to scale your efforts. The link is in the chat. Also shared the link for our feedback form. We really value the feedback that you all provide us so that we can make sure that we keep working with amazing partners like Rex and Ryan. Ryan, thank you again so much for your time. For everybody, we'll work on the recording and get that out to you all. Thanks again, and we'll see you at the next Start Out event.
Thank y'all.